Good evening, all. Welcome to Rotary Club Beirut Cedars. This event, this session is organized jointly with Rotary Lebanon International, Rotary Club Metal Rotary Club Beirut, and Rotary Arts, Alay, and Rotary Club Beirut, as well as Rotary Club Beirut Cedars. These events, these sessions are organized monthly by our club in order to introduce actually what we do as a Rotary Club, in order also to choose specific topics that might interest a certain public. Tonight, we have the pleasure to welcome His Excellency, the Ambassador of Colombia, who will be tackling the conflict in Colombia and the way it was somehow compared, benchmarked with what we had went through in Lebanon. Please help me introduce Mr. President Ramza Boussama. A word from him, then we'll go on. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, Mr. Ambassador, Presidents, AGs, past presidents, members, guests, directors, protocol observed. It is the pleasure of Rotary and Rotaract Club Beirut Cedars and the Johnny Club, the Beirut Lebanon International Metal Gate, and Rotaract clubs of Alay, Beirut, and Sahel Metal to welcome you, His Excellency Ambassador Edwin Ostos Alfonso. During this month of peace and conflict resolution, Rotary celebrates with great passion peace around the world. Many programs have been implemented to promote peace, from Rotary Peace Action Groups to Rotary Peace Fellowships to Peace Fellowship Master Degree programs, among others. Our club decided, following the suggestion of Rotaract Chair Ladwehi, to invite you, Excellency, to share with us Colombia's experience with conflict resolution at its best, signing the Peace Accord in 2016, allowing Colombia to end decades of civil war and killings. Before enjoying this informative session, please allow a few minutes to our Sergeant Ataran Ghassan to share the club announcement. Thank you.
Few minutes of your time to tell you about some announcement for our club and the clubs that joined us in this session. In February, as you can see, we're inaugurating one of the projects. It's a global grant project in Beirut Baptist School. It's going to happen on Thursday at 3 p.m. In March, it's in Rotary Water and Sanitation and Hygiene Month. So on Wednesday, March 6th, we have a session in which we will be joined by 3 ladies. It's a 15 by 3, so 15 minutes for each lady. We will be listening to Sandra Khlad, Aline Kamakian, and Nadine Panayot Haroun. It's happening here at 7 p.m. On Wednesday, 27, our club is joining with RC Akkar and Lebanon Echo, Tir Europa, Kisirwan, and Zgharta Zewiye. We'll be listening to Past Governor Jamil Mawad on the Rotary's impact on water, sanitation, and hygiene, happening here also. As for we said, okay, so this is RC Beirut, Rotary Club de Beirut announcements. In March, same topic. On Thursday, March 11, they will be having the presence of plastic fragments in bottled water. Conference of Professor Maher Aboud, Head of Science, Faculty at Saint Joseph University. Monday, March 18, an iftar at Aljaluna. The president of the association will introduce this NGO and the way it was founded. The Rotary Club of Beirut seizes the Ramadan fasting period to encourage these associations to pursue the support to needy, active, and talented women. To be confirmed in March, signature of a purchase contract for an embroidery machine of Axovel. Next, please. RC Lebanon International on March 17, I'll just give you the titles quickly. So we we save time. They'll be launching a social entrepreneurship academic program for the Rotary Act in District 2452 to attend a full program about ideation, planning, financing, and incubating a socially innovative startup to be launched in business concept. That's what I'm doing on. Thank you. Tuesday, March 26, they're organizing an event with Meta and McKinsey to offer shortlisted startups from Europe, China, the US, and the Middle East, especially from Lebanon, to pitch for their ideas and get the right funds for investments. This is an amazing program and plan. The role of Rotary Club International, Lebanon International, is to support the startups representing Lebanon to get the chance and sponsors to cover the cost of pitching. Next, please. Rotary Act Beirut Cedars on Wednesday, February 21st. So they have a new president elected. So it's Khalil Hawari. We congratulate him. He will be presiding during Rotary year 24-25. Saturday, February 24, for those who enjoy paddle, we have a tournament at the Paddleist Mercury Gym. Well, next. I'm calling to the floor Melanie, please, to introduce our speaker, Ambassador Edwin Ostos Alfonso.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. I would like to welcome His Excellency Edwin Ostos Alfonso, the distinguished ambassador of Colombia to Lebanon. His career has taken him around the world, serving in Indonesia, the United Kingdom, South Korea, Costa Rica, and Brazil, showcasing his commitment to fostering global ties and diplomacy. As we gather here, let us warmly welcome Ambassador Alfonso, a true embodiment of Colombia's spirit and dedication to international cooperation. We look forward to an evening of enriching exchanges and shared insights. After this brief introduction, let us please dive into his background to know more about the experiences that have led him here tonight with us. First off, his former position is head of Internal Legal Office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Colombia. As professional experience, he is a diplomat at the Colombian embassies in Indonesia, South Korea, Costa Rica, and the United Kingdom, general consult in Sao Paulo, Brazil. As undergraduate studies, he graduated in law from the Externado de Colombia University. And for graduate studies, he has done a master in international criminal law from the University of Granada and Institute of Studies in Spain. He did a master in economics and business of China and India in the University of Alcalá de Henares and Institute of Studies in Spain. Third, he has specialized in international cooperation and development project management from the University of Alcalá de Henares and Institute of Studies in Spain. And fourth, he has specialized in international law from Paulista School of Law in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He has a diploma in global trade with emphasis on free trade agreements, Externado de Colombia University, and a diploma in political management, public management, and governance from the University of de Rosario, Bogota. He can speak English and Portuguese. Ambassador, it is our pleasure to have you here with us tonight. Thank you.
Before giving the floor to His Excellency, I'd like to welcome all of those who are with us on Zoom, I think about 13 or 14 people, among them Pastor Governor Nijad Atassi, I guess. Welcome all. Let's listen to His Excellency. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here tonight For me, it's an honor to share some of the knowledge that I have from my country regarding peace process in Colombia. I hope this presentation that I'm going to have today, it could be useful for the information that you could have regarding Colombia. So I bring some slides I hope will be useful for you regarding the peace process in Colombia. First of all, I'm going to talk basically about the peace process in Colombia 2012 to 2016. No. So when I'm going to refer basically about the peace process in Colombia from this period of time. There are another periods of time in negotiation for peace in Colombia, because this time it was the government had negotiation directly with the main guerrilla in Colombia that was called FARC. No? So how it was in the past in Colombia, I would like to show you some pictures that are really relevant that you could take into account how was the country. On your left, you can see the former guerrilla used to attack towns in Colombia. On your left, you can see. But something really relevant also is that you can see here, this part, when they mention about TV FARC, that is mean that they have their own TV that they produce on YouTube. So it was really amazing to know how they show to the people how they attack into the towns in Colombia. And here on your right, you can see one of the charts that was attacked by the FARC during that time, that it was terrible. All the people were inside of the church, try to make protections because there is a conflict between the paramilitaries and the guerrilla FARC in Colombia. So they were inside in the church, and the FARC decided to attack the church. 74 people died inside of this. And it was the clear example how we were living in the country during that times. Sometimes we used to be like that with a custom to try to know every day on the news this kind of news. Here, there is another example you can see on your left. This is a police station in Colombia. The guerrilla used to attack several times the police station. The police station with 3 or 4 policemen in there inside, because they protect the civilian people in the towns. So for them, it was very easy to attack this police station, and you can see in that picture an example about that. On your right, you can see also something very interesting, because you can see the guerrilla look like a common army. They use even the flags of Colombia, and you can see weapons that they usually handle during that time. So in that time, we have, in fact, 2 armies. So this is important and relevant that you take into account. This army was from the guerrilla, that is from the left. They try to follow the ideas of the communists, and they try to take the power. No, that's the main idea that they have. So, but what happened? We had some picture also about the Colombian army, that killed several members of the guerrilla. What happened in Colombia? The Colombian army became very strong and combat the guerrilla. So in one moment from 2002, it was a little bit weak, the Colombian army. But during that period of time that started from 2002 and advanced from the years to years, until 2016, the Colombian army get most powerful. You can see the kind of weapons that they use, how they are. You use some kind in the combat. You use from Air Force also, and for sure this was a very relevant element to push the guerrilla FARC into a negotiation in Colombia. But I cannot be unfair. This was not the only one. I need to see and to explain you that the Colombian political constitution in Colombia was very important for us. Why? Because this constitution that was created in 1991 gave so many rights and there are so many obligations in order that the citizens, the society itself, growing. So with this constitution, we have the rule of law that is, of course, one of the most important parts that we have in any constitution. The protection of fundamental rights, broad guarantees of protection of social rights, direct citizen participation in decision, access to political participation, and something very important is this one, mechanisms to enforce the Constitution by citizens on personal or group basis. What is this? In Colombia, whoever could go to the justice and say, you are not respecting the Constitution for this, against me, for example, against one person in particular. And the judge has 36 hours in order to resolve what is happening with the fundamental rights of that person. And so the judge needs to decide. So thousands of action like this that was created by these constitutions allow that the citizens know that the Constitution is really important and really relevant to construct a society. So that's something in general that I could show you about what is happening before in Colombia. This is a chronology from the beginning of the process to the end of the peace process. How was how was the period? You can see from May 2011 here, phase and approach phase. Why an approach phase? Because it was necessary that both parts try to meet each other. They hate each other. They cannot tolerate each other. So in one moment, the government of Colombia decided we need to talk to them. We need to talk with the guerrilla because we cannot continue with this. distinction. And also it's very important, those articles that you can see here, respect of human rights. That is mean that from the beginning of this agreement, they mentioned that both parts need to respect human rights. Why? Because as you can see, the action that was made by the FARC during that time, they killing, they kidnapping, yes, and they made several things that was against the humanitarian law, the international humanitarian law. So when you put in the beginning from this agreement that you need to respect the human rights, is a very important thing that you put into the consideration for all the negotiation that just started. Of course, there is another topics. Economic development with social justice and in harmony with the environment is a guarantee for peace and progress. Social development with equity and well-being that includes big majorities allow growing as a country, and it's important to broaden democracy as a condition to build solid foundation for peace. This was a dialogue that they started. We didn't have the conversation for peace in Colombia. We had the conversations in Cuba. Okay, so the problem is not, we don't resolve in our own house. We need a third, and we move to the other country in order to start the negotiation. The FARC agree that being Cuba, yes, so we move in there. This picture is very interesting, but they show the leaders of the government here. They are civilians. They are civilian. We keep us a vice president of Colombia, who was the leader of the negotiation from the government. Here are the, on your left, you can see all the leaders of FARC. And in here, we have a former general from Colombia, from the Army of Colombia, and the general director of the police. Why it was important? Because we need to back also the army in Colombia, because it was a conflict also between the army and the FARC. And in their minds, it was very difficult that they hate each other. They don't want any kind of peace because they kill, because so many things happened during the war. I'm talking about more than 55 years in the country of conflict. So many people died. So it was important to have this kind of delegation from the government in order to have the dialogue in La Habana. I think it's not functioning, this one. Yes. The final agreement includes the following chapters. First of all, this is a very relevant, the end of the book. We need an agreement when we talk, this is the end of the book. I'm going to explain you what is the end of the book. Justice and reparation for victims is another very important issue. Why? Because the victims are in the center of this negotiation. Against the drug trafficking, that is another important point, because the guerrilla during that time was supported by the money of the drugs. Because they have the money, so they can buy weapons. So it was very important, the chapter relating with drug trafficking. The other, better opportunities for rural countryside, more participation and democracy, and the implementation of the final agreement. This was the moment when the President Juan Manuel Santos, with the former member leader of the guerrilla of FARC, well, they agreed and they signed the process in Colombia. Behind them, you can see the former Secretary General of the United Nations, and also the President of Mexico, the President of Peru, the President of Cuba, and other president were just behind. This was in Cartagena, and it was very important for the history of Colombia, because we never supposed that in one moment we will have peace with the guerrilla. We never. We already used to be, oh, another attack of the guerrilla. Oh, how many people died today? Oh, they killed 20, they killed 10. It was common, no? So when we have this agreement, it was extremely important for the history of the country. Here were there some demonstration in favor of the peace, and this picture is really relevant because this picture was in the south of Colombia, where the guerrilla was very powerful. So the guy that you can see here is from the guerrilla, happy. because finally we got peace in the country, no? So it's interesting that you notice about that. Some part of the population, they don't want any peace process. Some part of the population, they want to kill the guerrilla members. Yes, and they were half want to continue with the war, and the other half, they just want peace. It was extremely strange because someone could think, oh no, all the people want peace. It was not easy, no, because in Colombia, for so many reasons, well, they hate the action that the guerrilla made. The main chapter of the agreement, first, end of the war. What is the meaning of end of the war? The FARC laid down their weapons and to cease attacks on the public force and the civilian population. Not to engage in crimes such as kidnapping, extortion, of the recruitment of minors. Why? Well, you can see the recruitment of minors was something really relevant because childs, very young, 13 years old, 12 years old, they kidnapping and they are now just part of the guerrilla, like that. They go into the families and they took it to be part of the army. To pick their links with the drug trafficking. These pictures show you how were the guerrilla, really powerful during that time. And here are some of the conditions in the jungle, the Amazon jungle, where they kidnapping people in there. So this is the first one, end of the war. Truth, justice, and reparation for victims. What is the truth? The truth is a right that has a double connotation. First of all, it's an individual right of those who have suffered the consequences of the conflict. And second, it has a collective dimension. It is a right of Colombian society to know its past. So the truth is really important. It's not only to finish the peace process. The society needs to know what happened. So the truth is one of the big elements that we have in Colombia. What we did, we create a commission for the clarification of truth, coexistence, and not repetition. The commission began its mandate in 2018 in order to clarify the patterns and causes of human rights violations during the Colombian armed conflict, promoting recognition of victims and contributing to coexistence. In 2022 was presented its final report. This commission was extremely relevant in Colombia because this commission has a report and they measure this happened. And when they say that, they say not only the guerrilla kill people, the Colombian army also. Yes, and you need to recognize that because if you don't recognize that, the truth is not going to be out, no? So you can put in the jail, but if the truth is not part of the context of the peace, so the society is not functioning. Something happened. So truth is one very important element. Justice is the second element. And a special jurisdiction for peace was created in Colombia. It's functioning now. It's very important in our society. And it's an autonomous judicial entity. What are the functions and the competence that we have for this second element? It has the status of investigating, judging, and punishing human rights violations, war crimes, and crimes against humanity committed in the context of the armed conflict. It has the right to investigate and decide on cases involving ex-combatants of the FARC and members of the National Colombian Army, both of them. Here are the judges that we have in this special jurisdiction for peace. Most of them are women. Okay, most of them are women, and this is really relevant, no? That you take into account. Yeah, well, yes, but most of them are, and we are very proud about the work that this special jurisdiction has made in Colombia. This picture is also relevant. You can see here the former leaders of the guerrilla of FARC, former members of the guerrilla, recognizing describing the special jurisdiction for this. This is extremely relevant. All the leaders not only signed the peace process, they went to the justice and they say, we recognize, we kill, we kidnapping, and they have lists of so many people that suffer or they kill. And there are so many mothers in Colombia that they don't know where their sons are because they kill and they want to know where they are. No? And on the right, you can see one former general of Colombia recognizing also that they commit crimes against international humanitarian law, and all of them are members of the army. Also our jurisdiction. This is really relevant in any peace process, definitely. Justice is a part of a peace process in any country. So, oh, sorry. Oh, I made a mistake, maybe. No. Okay, this is the third part that is really relevant. Reparation to the victims. You cannot have a peace process if you don't take into account the victims. So there are some chapters that are really relevant also about what is reparation to the victims. Restitution. Restitution is return their lives to the people who forcibly abandoned as a result of the displacement. What happened? Arrived the paramilitaries, arrived the guerrilla, and the people need to leave their farms because they don't want to be involved in the war. So what happened? Some of them want the property of the lands. Yes. Some of them want the property of the land, not some, thousands. I'm talking about thousands of people that were part of the paramilitary of the guerrilla, that when they invade the land, they want to be the owner of that land. So one of the important topics is the restitution, return of the land. Second one, compensation. Economic compensation for the victims who cease to reconstruct their life project. In this picture, you see some victims. The government helped them in order, with some money, in order to reestablish their life. Rehabilitation is legal, medical, psychological action to restore the physical and psychosocial victims. And satisfaction is also regular. It is necessary to recognize the suffering of the victims and promote collective memory. The collective memory is really relevant also in any peace process. You can see an example here, but in every city you can see some examples about the collective memory, that the people don't forget what it happened. Why? Because we don't want repetition. So the number 5 reparation chapter is no repetition warranty. Avoiding acts that violate human rights or infractions of international humanitarian law. These two are part of the reparation to the victims. What was made in Colombia, you can see here the current president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, giving lands to victims of the conflict in Colombia. They are happy because they have the property of the lands, because they recovered the property of the lands, and we have so many people that now are recovering the properties, and it's really relevant. When you don't have a house, you realize how important it is that you recover that kind of things that is important for in any case. More than 1 million hectares of land have already been formalized, and at least 500 social more are expected to be given. This is another important topic that you need to take into account. Comprehensive agrarian development policy. What was agreed during the peace agreement? The real objective is the transformation of the countryside. Because the countryside, there is a division between the people who live in the city and the people who live in the countryside. The people who live in the countryside was very poor. And this guerrilla was from the countryside. Okay? So they asked for transformation of the countryside, the improvement of the living condition of the rural population, the overcoming of poverty and inequality in the rural context, and the closing of gaps between the countryside and the cities. More participation and democracy. The objective is the expansion of the political and democratic scenario that allows new voices, the bodies of popular representation. 4 topics that are related to this one are new law related to parties in opposition of the government. Why? Because the opposition parties in the country were very weak. They don't have tools because the majority of the parties were very strong. They already have the power, but the opposition they don't have. So one of the actions that was made is a new law related to the opposition parties. And this law is already functioning. Second one, allow the representation of the areas affected by the armed conflict through 16 representatives in Congress. In the Congress, what does it mean? This means that 16 people from the victims from all the land in Colombia now are part of the Congress in Colombia. No. Another, finance and promote the new parties that emerge after the signing of the final agreement. What I'm talking about. The guerrilla become a political party. It was amazing. People who killed several people now become in the civil society. And now they are a political party. That is important. If we are going to discuss, we will do it in the Congress or in the Parliament, as you have here. No? Minimum representation of 5 senators and 5 representatives to the Congress from the FARC political party for 2 electoral periods. This is also relevant. What they agree, 5 senators from the former guerrilla are now part of the Congress also for 2 periods. Here is an amazing picture. These were the former generals of the FARC. We died. Picture, look, no, this is completely different. This picture, they were attacking the bombs, the towns, etc. And now they become in the civil society, are part of the democracy.
The people who died.
Yes, yes, yeah. There is the other vision, no? But how you allow that these people that before killing people are now part of the democracy and the Congress is part of the peace process? Or you accept or you don't accept? Yes, but if you don't accept, these people will continue killing more people. So that's the price of the peace also, no? These are 16 members of the victims. They represent the victims, and they are now part of the Congress of Colombia also, no? They were with some picture of the people that the guerrilla or the army disappeared during the conflict, no? And here are some peace demonstrations in Colombia after the peace. As I mentioned before, the society was very divided about this. United Nations helped us because they received the weapons that the FARC guerrilla gave to them, okay? And what happened with the illicit drugs? With the illicit drug was another matter that in Colombia is a really big issue. So the current government is working extremely hard in order to try to have another vision of the problem of drugs. Reduce demand through universal, selective, and prevention. Attention to mental health, addictions, early intervention, treatment care, rehabilitation, recovery. So it's a new way to think that is not only to put on prison people who use drugs. It's a mental health problem. No, it's a matter of education. So we are working on that in the problem of illicit drugs. Conclusion of the peace process. The end of the FARC as an armed movement, they will hand over all their weapons and rejoin civil life. This is very relevant. They are not part of the Colombian army. They are becoming the civil society, and the government is helping them to have an economy itself, to grow in itself. But they are not part. It's not mean that these thousands of people that before were part of the guerrilla now are becoming of the Colombian army. No, this is an important point also. The end of the kidnapping, extortion, and hostilities against the population and public forces by this group. Now, we are, thanks to that, because we suffer a lot about this problem. Satisfaction of the victims' right to truth, justice, and reparation, as I mentioned before. A peaceful countryside with legal and real opportunities for economic development and the strengthening of democracy and a state institution in the national territory. This one, the last one is very important also because they accept our state. They accept our institution. They accept our democracy. And in one moment they decide, okay, we are going to be part of the democracy in Colombia. So these are the main conclusions that I have. I have a video that is not related, is related about the mark of Colombia now, because we are trying to show the people how beautiful is Colombia. But with these ideas, I just to bring you some of the main elements that we had into account about the peace process in Colombia. Okay, thank you so much, and we are going to get this.
What is the most beautiful thing about Colombia? What is its true beauty? People are everything. And while sailing a river that runs through the jungle becoming the sea, you can hear more than 65 indigenous native languages. How is a country not going to be beautiful when in it you can taste a different fruit every day of the year? Thanks to the hard work of our farmers who bring food to the table of Colombians and tables of the whole world. We are proud of our 3 mountain ranges, but much more of our cyclists who conquer them in the longest mountain peak in the world. Here, the wind brings an aura of progress. This same wind talks to 1,900 species of birds and tells them which tree they need to reach in order to be seen. Our beautiful islands emerge from 2 oceans, and from our islands, a new union is born. Look at our mountains, and look at the acres that remain to be cultivated. And speaking of green, breathe, breathe easy, because we are a lung of the world. We live in midst of the beauty that changes every day, where the past, the present, and the future coexist in every region. A generous beauty for everyone wishing to see it. Who comes for business ends up staying for pleasure. Who comes for pleasure finds business opportunities. This is our invitation. Come for the first time or come back from wherever you are and tour the country to continue discovering Colombia, the country of beauty.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Before opening the floor to a few questions, we have still a few minutes before we close the meeting. I'd like to thank in the name of President Hamza Musama, the clubs who contributed and helped us and are present with us, and the presidents here with us, President Tamoshi, President Adel Harib, Usama Shdid, Anhal Kushaya, President Naji Audi, President Rana Audi, incoming President Beatrice Bishara, President Rosalie Nabouk, I'm forgetting someone, no, and President Petra Abu Qasim. And all of those who are with us on Zoom, welcome. And if you have any questions, please write them down, and will help us put them on the floor. Floor is open for questions, please. Please.
You have such a beautiful country. Thank you for the presentation. If we compare your peace process to the peace process, your peace process seems to be utopic for me. It's like utopia because it's a beautiful peace process. You know, where everybody comes together and they solve all the problems. So the question is, was it a purely internal conflict, or was the guerrilla affiliated with some regional or international powers? Or was it only a purely internal affair, you know, between the government and the
Well, it was purely internal, but at the same time, maybe they get support from other people. We don't really know about that. But for sure, the main problem is the ideology that they have inside. The communist ideology was extremely terrible for the democracy in Colombia, because if they win, the state that, as we know, is completely changed in another one. So the ideology was really strong. And that's why when I mentioned about the people that they accept our constitution, our values, our principle, it was really relevant. And that they part of the Congress now, it's changed completely everything. Because in one moment, they realized our ideology, it could be good, but we are not going to change the history of Colombia in that way, because Colombia is changing. since our constitution, no? And that's why we are trying to do our best also in our society to construct the country. But maybe from the ideology, for sure, they could have other kind of idealization from other countries. I don't want to mention anything in special for course. Yes.
Excellency, you think this peace will last? Is very solid the ground for
It's
now? It's like 7 years from now.
it's 8 years.
8 years.
It's 8 years. Yes, it's 8 years. And it's solid. Maybe you can take a look to the first one. The first one I didn't explain, but it was extremely relevant because in the first one picture show here the Security Council visited Colombia just 20 days ago. So the Security Council visited again and the big point of the implementation of the 2016 peace agreement. We are in Colombia to witness firsthand the progress achieved in the 8 years of implementation of the 2016 final peace agreement and to express the Security Council's commitment to the peace in Colombia. So yes, we are working. It's not good. It's not perfect, but it's the way that our society discovered by ourselves how to construct and how to build peace in the country.
Let's take 3 questions if you may.
Yes.
Philip, please. And,
I was actually in Colombia in December, and we the date in Cartagena. I lived for Medellin is one of the most important cities in the world, and I was really impressed by it. And I've heard a lot of rumors also, and we met with the former president Uribe, and he said that he was against the peace treaty. Why is he against that? We saw that there's a lot of like positive things out there, but he's like fighting this peace treaty because he believes that this is not like a solution.
Yeah, well, it's a very, very tough question because for sure there are different views in politics. Okay? Politics is something that is part of the nature also of politics to have different ideas. And they considered in one point that this peace process was not successful. And they prefer another ways, no? Maybe giving more powerful to the army in order to destroy the guerrilla until the final. But eliminate, yes. Some of them thought that the base was to try to eliminate, but the reality was not like that, no? We have thousands of people into the army of FARC and was a better conclusion to negotiate with them. And now they are part of the democracy in Colombia. I think it's like that. It's the way that I can respond to you. Yes, no, not beyond that.
I'm going to squeeze a question coming from a person following us on Zoom. It's from Esperanza Carvajal. Thank you for the presentation. Could you tell us what is happening now with the peace process with the Disidencias of FARC and all the others and armed groups in the country?
Well, yes, the current government is pushing so much to have a total peace in Colombia. So they are talking with another members of former guerrillas that are very small in order to reduce, in order to get conversations, and in order to achieve peace in the country. So now the current government of the president, Petro, so he's trying to do its best in order to have a negotiation with a guerrilla that we have in one area in the country, and they are pushing so much in that. It's not easy, because as I mentioned before, any process is a long period of time. So we are trying to do our best also, and the government is already with some important delegation in order to achieve peace with others, with other sectors.
Yes.
Hello, Your Excellency. I'm president of the first peace building club in the region, and this session was very fruitful and insightful, actually. It seems that Colombia did apply some transitional justice mechanisms and positive peace framework while applying this peace process. Yet, how accurate it is and how effective it is to last, because we have seen for the past years, whenever a country in the global south applies a certain peace process, it tends to come to an end at a certain period of time.
Yes.
So what are some mechanisms that the government is trying to do in order to ensure the longevity of the
Yes.
lasting?
The mechanism was made inside in the agreement. So I showed you about the justice. So we have judges that are working in this moment. We are we already have some institutions that were working on that because the society needs to know the truth. No, and in the victims, we have several institutions that were created in order to protect the victims. No, because this is not function alone. So the government need to pay for new institutions in order to try to help the victims in the conflict. So all the agreement, this was just a small and concentrated presentation that I could give you. But in general, there is all the pages of the agreement is about so many pages, yes, and it's necessary. Each page is mentioned about 8 sectors in order to contribute to the process. So it's not easy, but it's, as I said in the beginning, the beginning started when they signed the agreement, because the peace you need to build year by year. No, it's not something that is going to appear like that. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Sort of bilateral cost potential. Your Excellency mentioned the importance of the presence of a mutual decision in order to launch a peace process. So in the case of Colombia, to strengthen the army, was important to push for that mutual decision. So the use of force and military.
Yes.
So my question is, what other diplomatic alternatives or actions can be taken to push the defiant warring actor or side, so I think a peace process into the conflict.
Yes. Also, it's not only about the army, for sure, because the government of Colombia during that time, they talked with another governments of the area, and those governments were linked with some ideology, and they say, okay, we are going to support your ideas. Let's see if we could do something. Let's see if we could have a conversation with them. That's the first phase, and the first and second phase that I showed you, that try to get each other the parts that they hate during that time. And for sure, the diplomacy functioned really well during that time, because the government not only was expecting to push with the army, the guerrilla, no. We were talking in that phase with other governments. For example, Cuba was extremely important for us, because they not only were part of the place, they only give the place for the peace process, but at the same time, they try to talk with some guerrilla leaders in order to say, okay, you have more than 50 years fighting to the government. Why you don't hear? Why you don't hear? And thanks to that approach and thanks to that intentions, for sure, they agree to start a negotiation with the government of Colombia. Yes, that is very important, for sure. Yes.
Last question.
Yes.
Hello, and
Yes.
thank you for coming. I have the privilege to be one of the witnesses of the effects of the peace process, especially in Lebanon. And because there were many questions asked about the sustainability of the peace process, if maybe you can tell us more about the economic aspect and how you're supporting designers that are working with victims and economic enterprises that also integrate victims and ex-fighters.
Oh, yes, that's a very important point also. Economic means that the government in one moment decide we need to give money to the victims. We need to give money, with the taxes, of course, to the person that are going to become part of the civil society, where all the ex-combatants that you saw in the pictures. So there are several projects in Colombia in order to try that these people start his own company, or maybe be part of in the civil society, working as a teacher or trying to get education. No, one of the important issues is education. So they try to get benefits for them in order to study, because most of the children that you saw in there, but they are children, 13 years old, 16 years old, and they were child and start to combat the government of Colombia. So those before child, they need to start to study again, going to the school, going to the university in order to have a better preparation for their life. So one of the factors that we have that take into account is related to that. And also there are some companies that are engage in some of them in order to work in the companies. So it was a different kind of aspect that we have in the country in order to try to absorb all of those people that before were part of the conflict. Thank you for the question.
One last question. How does the Truth and the Reconciliation Commission in South Africa compare to what happened in Colombia? And what lessons should Lebanese learn from what you have?
Oh, thank you. Yes, the truth, I mean, in South Africa was extremely relevant. And what I can tell you is that in any case, if you don't have a commission that try to have a report about what did happen, and in this report, they need to mention, look, this was the history of Colombia. We need to recognize that this happened. So this was an attack in some area. They killed, they kidnapped, they extortion, and they use also the illicit economic of the drugs. And so, and you create and you build that history is really relevant because the new generation are going to understand that this cannot happen again. And also at the same time, the victims that already were part of the conflict, they already realized that the state is worried about them. Because if the state is not worried about the victims, they are going to continue with another war. They are going to again and again and again continues in this kind of violence in any society. So I cannot tell you about Lebanon, but for sure, the experience of Colombia has been very important. It's not perfect. No, we have so many problems in the country, but at least our society is pushing so much in order to have a better society.
Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, let me thank you for this excellent informative session, where you share the details of the conflict that ran over decades, to be exact 52 years, which ended with the peace accord in 2016. We hope this peace accord will be very soon take place in our region to allow prosperity and stability. We were honored by your presence tonight. Please accept, we'll hand you the certificate of appreciation for your session, a pin for our club, the Rotary Club Beirut Cedars, and our flag. And we have a photo group with all the presidents who joined with us in the session. Okay. So first, Melanie, this certificate from our Rotary and Rotary نطقت علي بيروت صح المتن تفضلوا. Thank you so much. And you, the flag. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to all those participants. You're welcome. See you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.